There are all kinds of theories about why books don't sell. Are they just bad books? Or is there something else going on? Why are there some horrible books topping the charts? Keep watching and we'll explore this a little further.
I don't do it by the book, no, I do my own thing. That's why every single hook got them singing like me. And I ain't in any rush, cause I'm finally getting paid. Don't believe in any luck, I believe I'm self-made, yeah.
I was actually going to call this a conspiracy video. The problem with that is these things are actually happening. So it's not a conspiracy, it's just, well, kind of shady. So why are some books at the top of the charts and maybe you've never even heard about them? Where did this book suddenly come from that's getting all these amazing reviews? Why are you getting newsletters about books from authors you've never heard from and you definitely didn't sign up for? These are all things that are done that I would suggest not doing, but some authors don't realize how shady these things are and what happens when you get caught. Let's look into this a little further. Now, one of the things that I think we've all heard about was this author who hit the New York Times bestseller list. Nobody had ever heard of the author. It was her debut novel. And all of a sudden there's talk of a movie being made and everyone's like, what's going on here? Well, this author had bought a whole lot of her own books, like in bulk. Sometimes publishers do this too, which honestly I still find shady. I find it shady when anybody does it, but it was done in a way to avoid the safeguards that the New York Times has. The New York Times actually has a separate list for books that are bought in bulk to separate them from the books that are honestly selling out in bookstores, that are honestly being grabbed online. These books that truly belong on the bestseller list. The book in question I'm not going to name because I don't want to give attention to somebody who scammed the system, but The Hate U Give was pushed out of its deserved spot as the bestseller. Thankfully, now that book is getting the acclaim it deserves, so I'm very happy to hear that. That's the frustrating thing, is you'll have these books that are amazing pieces of art that are important that will end up not being seen because other people are gaming the system, which is frustrating. But I think the more people talk about it and the more people are aware that this is happening, the more we can discourage authors from doing that. So here are 5 things that I consider shady. The last one has a question mark beside it for a reason, and I'll explain that in a minute. So, I know a lot of readers out there are really frustrated because Amazon has started a while back removing reviews. And these are honest reviews from readers who just are reviewing their favorite authors, knowing that it does make a huge difference. They're reading these books and honestly loving them. But because of the fact that some people game the system, Amazon has been trying to figure out different ways to fix this, to make it a more level playing field. I'm not going to pretend that they're being equal about this, because bigger selling books are still full of reviews that are questionable. But Amazon is going to stick up for those making the most money. Whether this is fair or not, one of the biggest practices of authors gaming the system is buying reviews. Now, you can go to a place like Fiverr and pay somebody to write you one glowing review to give you some 5 stars, 10, 20, 100. Basically, what will happen is they will make dozens and dozens of different accounts, and they will go to the book and they'll give it a glowing 5-star review. And usually this review has very little to do with the book, or will have strange generic terms in there. You know, this was an amazing read. I've never read another book like it. Okay, what did you like about the book? Well, they can't say what they like about the book because they didn't read it. They're not actually a person. Some of these are even bots that are just there to write out something that sounds like a positive review. This practice, obviously, is shady, and also, for anybody tempted to do that, can get your account shut down. Readers, when they go to a book, we look at reviews to see if this is the type of book that we're going to enjoy, if there's maybe triggers in the book that is going to be an issue for us. There's all kinds of reasons that we read reviews, and yes, reviews absolutely help with the algorithm of a book, with Amazon, with other vendors, and we all want to make sure that we have those reviews there so that we're not disappearing into the void of the hundreds of thousands of books that are there. Doing it dishonestly is, one, you're losing the trust of the reader, and 2, you just might get caught. So if it being unethical isn't enough, you're risking your career. Padding sales. This is what I mentioned before. On a smaller scale, a lot of authors will buy copies of their own books. And I, after being in this community for a long time, wasn't even aware it was happening. And then I heard some controversy going on and got in a conversation with some people, and they're like, oh yeah, everyone does it. I'm like, no, not everyone does it, because I'm talking to a lot of other experienced authors who are like, I have never heard of that and never thought of doing that. When I do a giveaway for my books, I'll either send them a direct file from the ones that were formatted for me, or I'll go to somewhere like FreeBooksy and get them the code from there. It's a convenient way to just let them grab the book in whatever format they want. Buying one of my own books and sending it to them that way, or sending them a gift card and telling them to use it on my books so that it counts, it's questionable. It's not something I'm willing to do personally, but I don't want to come off too judgy here. Just a little bit judgy. But anyway, the point is, some authors are doing this regularly. People doing it in big scales will go, again, somewhere like Fiverr. You can pay, I think it's, I read somewhere, you pay something like $5. And if your book is 99 cents, not all of them do it this way. Some of them probably charge more to buy more expensive books. Basically, you compensate them to buy your book, so it counts as a sale, and then they may or may not read the book and leave a review. When you're exchanging money for a review, it's a problem. When you're giving someone else money to buy your book so that you have more sales, it's gaming the system. And when people start paying money to do this in bulk so that they can reach bestseller lists, this is a very serious problem. because then you can't trust the lists anymore. And quite honestly, at this point, the more and more I read about this, the less I'm trusting those lists. Unless I've heard about a book and I hear everybody talking about it and saying, this is an amazing book, you have to check it out. If I've never heard of this book before, chances are there's some kind of game going on there. And I don't know. If I know an author is gaming the system, I'm not really interested in checking their book out. If an author isn't confident enough in their work to promote it honestly, I don't know, just not for me. Can't speak for everyone, obviously, but I don't know. I like honest people. I like honest artists, and that's what I'm going to look for personally. Plagiarism. Obviously, plagiarism is a problem, and very few people get away with it on the surface. The thing is, there's different ways to do plagiarism that's a little easier to get away with. There are some people that will use something like Kindle Unlimited, and they have pieces of different books that they might reword slightly, or somebody might publish a book that's been written completely as gay romance and rewrite it as a straight romance, changing very little in it. You might have heard about this happening out there. Basically, these are people that, rather than taking the time to write their own book, they decide just to take someone else's, fix it up a little bit, and put it out there as their own. This is definitely wrong. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Write your own fucking story. Seriously. And if you see somebody doing this, yeah, definitely speak up. The authors who are being stolen from definitely want to know. Newsletter scams. Now, this one is something that I've found out about more recently. We all know that there's scams out there where somebody will just grab your email from a contest or whatever and just add it to their list. Most of the time when authors are doing contests and asking you to sign up for their newsletter to enter, they will let you know. But sometimes there's newsletter exchanges where authors are sharing their whole lists. I don't know. Personally, I don't like the idea of that. I've gotten emails from authors and wondered, okay, I've never even heard of this author. Why am I getting this? And then I find out that, oh, well, there are authors exchanging lists. I don't particularly like that. I don't know if it's even really allowed, but I wouldn't suggest it. There's also another practice which I found out about, which I find really shady, is finding a best-selling author that a lot of people are fans of, buying a copy of their book, and doing a giveaway with their book, and having them sign up for your newsletter to win this book. The thing is, if you picture something like this, are you thinking that it's my newsletter that you're signing up for, or is someone else's? Probably mine. If I see win Laurel K. Hamilton's or Kim Harrison's book and you're signing up for the newsletter, I'm going to think that I'm signing up for the newsletter of the author whose book I'm seeing. There might be small print in there saying, well, no, this is not the author's list that you're signing up for, but it's a contest. You sign quickly, you forget about it. Next thing you know, you're getting a newsletter from an author you've never heard of because you were not spending the time to read the whole thing. You were just sign up here for a chance to win. And that's it. A lot of authors are actually doing this. Not everybody, so don't believe anyone who says everyone's doing this. No, we're not. Because it's questionable, and more than likely, you're going to have a lot of readers either reporting your email as scam or unsubscribing. What's the point? If you, I've grown my newsletter slowly over the years, but it's all organic. I end up with a high open rate of my newsletter. I end up with, when I send a newsletter out, since I do it so rarely, I end up with a lot of people checking out my blog posts, checking out my new free book, checking out my new release, because of the fact that people actually signed up for my newsletter and they want it. And they know that it's, when they see my name, they know they signed up for it. I think this is the most honest way to do it. Maybe not everyone agrees. Maybe people figure doing whatever you can to get ahead is worth it. That's up to each individual author, I guess. But I know as a reader, I don't like seeing shit like that. So, last but not least, and this has a question mark behind it for a reason, is ghostwriting. Now, I found out a lot of books I used to love as a kid were actually ghostwritten. And I was stunned. That feeling is why I put it in this list. For example, The Babysitter's Club were written by some young guys. I was like, really? I was picturing, I might have at that time thought it was a teenager writing it. I didn't think, or a young woman. I didn't think that some guy was being paid to ghostwrite these. The thing is, I can understand ghostwriting, and I don't want to speak against ghostwriters, but I kind of feel bad for them. You have ghostwriters who are writing for people with big names, and when someone's reading these books, they're like, wow, this is so well written, this author is amazing, and it's not that author writing. It's somebody else with talent and who deserves the recognition. So I don't know, personally, even when I see it's a celebrity getting a book ghostwritten for them, I'd love to see the name of the actual author on there. You would understand that, okay, this, famous celebrity doesn't have the time or skill to write this book, but somebody did. So who did they choose to do it? Who did they feel was talented enough to write the book for them? If somebody has great ideas for stories but can't get them across, credit the idea for the story for whoever did it, but give some credit to the person who wrote it. I don't know, to me it just, I read about that and I was like, that's kind of sad, having those authors out there, those talented writers who will never get that loving email from a reader saying, wow, this was so touching, this was such an amazing story, and thank you for writing it. Those emails are going to somebody who had nothing to do or had very little to do with the book. And that's, I don't know, that's kind of messed up. So one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up, and I'm bringing up a few of these things, is I constantly hear other authors saying, no matter how hard I work, no matter what I do, I can't write as many books as this person is writing. I can't get as many people subscribing to my newsletter. I can't get as many reviews. Don't compare yourself to other people, because I'm not saying that every single person that's putting out a book a month has a ghostwriter, but some of them do. Some of them are paying someone else or several someones to write for them. Sometimes you see reviews, and I always find this kind of, it makes me pause. You see these reviews that say that this author's voice has changed completely. I don't know how they're putting out books so fast, but it doesn't sound like them anymore. It's possible that this author was overwhelmed, has built a platform, and decided to use some of the money they're making towards ghostwriting rather than doing it themselves. Which, again, like I said, I find it kind of sad, but, it's a career and people are running it differently. But don't compare yourself to these people, because it's impossible for you to keep up. If they're having 2 or 3 ghostwriters write for them so they can release every month, you as one person are not going to be able to keep up with that. So look at your individual situation, how much you can write, and what you can ethically do on your own to get your books out there. And remember, this is a marathon. A career that you're building takes time, and partway through your career you might find it gets difficult again, and you might find that you need to do different things to get your stuff out there. Take pride in your work. Take pride in the fact that every step you're taking, you're not cutting corners, you're not gaming the system, you're doing things in a way that you can be proud of. Some people don't care about that. If you do, there are ways for you to get your books out there. In my next video, I am going to give you some honest ways to promote your books that I've found worked over the years, so check it out. I was going to actually do this video, basically the shady stuff and the honest stuff together, but it's running a bit long, so I'm going to have part 2 tomorrow. Make sure to leave a comment down below. Let me know if you've noticed any of this stuff, how you feel about it, and oh yeah, like, subscribe, ring that little bell, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
I don't think I do it good, no, I think I do it great. They would do it if they could, they can't do it so they hate. Everybody wanna look, but nobody wanna play.